Halloween may be over, but I still have Orange and Black on the brain today because of Orange is the New Black by Piper Kerman. The 1 year memoir of her time spent in a federal prison that is stretched over 7 seasons on Netflix, with several spicy quirks to add humor, cliffhangers, and depth to the side characters. In the book, we start with, Piper with Alex, her running that drug money overseas for her. And then after realizing that the relationship with her goes nowhere, she leaves her and just puts her in the past. Moves on with Larry. And 10 years after the drug money trip, she is surprised to be greeted by the feds at her door telling her she's been indicted. She has her trial, she's convicted, she goes to surrender the horrible squat and cough, and then, of course, her little mistake where she smack talks the prison food in front of the prison kitchen supervising inmate. What happens in the book after that little mistake is she has a little come to Jesus talk with her, and then she clams up and gets her act together, and they never speak of it since. In the show, there is still that relationship with Alex, but it has more depth and more emotion, but it does end anyway for pretty much the same reason. Piper just doesn't want that in her future. And in the show, after she makes that smack talk about the prison food, she is punished with a used hygienic snuck into her meal, and then a period of forced starvation until she figures out how to make amends. Also, just in the show is her serving her time with Alex by her side, to the point where Piper cheats on Larry with Alex, and then they go into kind of an off again, on again, relationship. In both the book and the movie, with regard to season 1, is, of course, the surrender, the horrible squat and cough, and all these characters. Red is real. And I'm just going to mention their names in the mini-series. They're all different in the book, but why confuse things? So, back to the characters. Red is real. Pennsatucky is real. But they weren't enemies. They were actually pretty good friends. Tasty is real. Yoga Jones is real. Sophia is real. Claudette is real. Sister Ingalls, real. Miss Rosa is real. Crazy Eyes is real. And to a lesser extent, Trisha, Gloria, Aleda, Flocka, Blanca, Maritza, Dayanara, and a lot of the prison staff and guards are kind of real on a small scale because they are examples of the kinds of personalities and people that Piper encountered, but didn't get close enough to make any remarkable statements about them in her book. Also, in both the book and the movie were her having to use, personal hygiene products as cell cleaning products, because I guess in prison you got to be resourceful, like a small-scale survivalist. Moving on to season 2. In the book and in the show are Pennsatucky getting new teeth. In the book, it's just because she needed new teeth. In the show, we know it's because she and Piper got into a scuffle, and Piper knocked them all out. Also, in the book and in the show is Piper's brief little trip on Con Air to go see Alex again just before the trial. And in the book only, the reunion in that Chicago jail was not bittersweet, it was bitter. While in federal and by herself, Piper had kind of made peace with her circumstances and just accepted things as they were and was looking forward to the future. But all that anger just came bubbling to the surface when she laid eyes on Alex again. Also, in season 2 and in the book is that little career day fashion show where they were just given what they had to work with, had the little fashion show, and were critiqued. What is just in the show, and pretty much mostly for entertainment value, is Morello being a stalker. Now, Morello is a real character. She's just the van driver in the book. And she's a little older than she is in the show. In the show, she's very, very young, and she talks a lot about, a wedding coming up that she's planning, and about her man of her dreams. And then we find out that it's all a figment of her imagination. And we only meet this guy once when he gets fed up with her being able to stalk him from prison when she sneaks out that one time. Also just in the show is Sister Ingall's hunger strike over the so-called compassionate release of one inmate who she had dementia, it looked like. Also, in just the show in season 2 is the very end of it, the way Miss Rosa escaped so she could die on her own terms. Season 3. What the book and the movie have in common is that in the book there's frequent mention of the Martha Stewart trial and high anticipation as to where she's going to end up after it's all over. A lot of the inmates in the Connecticut Federal Penitentiary were kind of looking forward to seeing her there, even though that didn't happen. So that is why they brought in Judy King in season 3, season 4, 5, and to a lesser extent season 7. What is just in the show is all that cult behavior, them starting to see, I think the name was Norma, the really quiet one. They start to see her as like a prophet to the point where they even see her face in a piece of toast. That's just in the show. And honestly, I think it ruined the show a little bit. I think it was just a little too ridiculous. Alright, moving on to season 4. Now, what season 4 and the book have in common is, in the book there is frequent mention of good and bad prison employees, from the guards to the admin to desk jockeys. And so the 4th season focuses a lot on the complete turnover of the prison staff, to include a whole bunch of them that were just completely incompetent and completely wrong for the role, leading to the riot that pretty much makes up all of season 5. There was no riot in the book. Season 5 is entirely fictional. There's also that guard hostage crisis for hilarity and entertainment value. Leading on to season 6. Since there is frequent mention of going down the hill to Supermax in the book, season 6 takes place in Supermax down the hill, and we are introduced to several awful people who are serving life sentences. And one of our non-violent inmates, Dayanara, she turns bad because it all started with the riot. She was the one holding the gun. And it all just festers when she's in Supermax. She becomes like one of those queen bee prison bitches. Moving on to season 7. Piper is paroled. Now at the very, very end of season 6, Piper unofficially marries Alex. Doesn't happen in real life. No, they had last seen each other in that brief time in jail just before the trial and just went separate ways from there. They never saw each other again in real life. In season 7, Piper's on parole. And in the book, she gets a job, she gets back on her feet, she and Larry get married, and the rest is history. In season 7, she's on parole, but unofficially married to Alex, and it's not going so well. They are not coping well with the separation. But somehow they managed to tough it out and stick together, because we see her visiting her in prison even though she's out and she's moved away. And that is how Orange is the New Black ends. We have a happily ever after, kind of, in both the book and the show. And that pretty much covers it. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and like and follow and all that fun stuff. And we'll see you next time.